This coin almost ended up in the trash, but sold for nearly $1 million. A simple penny, struck in 1971 at the San Francisco Mint, a coin that should have been forgotten with billions of others. Yet one mistake, a tiny flaw barely visible to the human eye, turned it into a once-in-a-lifetime treasure. But what makes this little copper coin so rare? And why are collectors whispering about the 1971's penny as if it were a hidden fortune waiting in plain sight? The story begins in an era of change. 1971 was a year when the US Mint was under pressure. Billions of pennies needed to be struck, and speed was everything. Machines worked around the clock, dies were reused, and mistakes slipped through. Among the countless coins produced in San Francisco, a handful escaped with doubling on the obverse, doubling so dramatic, so clear, that it would shock the coin world decades later. Collectors call it the 1971's Lincoln Cent double die obverse. A mouthful, yes, but a name that makes the hearts of serious coin hunters beat faster. The doubling is most visible on Lincoln's date and the word liberty, letters that almost look like they're echoing, shadows stamped into the copper. It's a mistake that should never have happened, yet somehow, it did. And those few coins that survived? They're now worth a fortune, but here's the part that stunned even the experts. At first, these coins went unnoticed. For years, they circulated quietly. People spent them on candy, on newspapers, on bus rides, not realizing they were passing history from hand to hand. It wasn't until collectors began to study the series more closely that the shocking truth emerged. One coin, one ordinary-looking penny, crossed the auction block for nearly $1 million. A single cent, transformed into a life-changing payday. Anyone could have it. Because it looks so ordinary at first glance. If you don't know what to look for, you'd toss it aside as just another brown penny in your change jar. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. Once the news broke, dealers rushed to find survivors. Collectors scrambled to examine their 1971's pennies. Prices skyrocketed overnight. Suddenly, this overlooked cent became one of the most talked about coins in American history. There isn't just one type. The San Francisco Mint produced proof pennies in 1971 as well, meant for collectors, struck with extra care. And even among those, rare mistakes occurred. Imagine ordering a proof set, expecting perfection, and discovering instead $1 million doubling hidden within the mirror-bright coin. That's the kind of shock that has made this penny legendary. Dealers were shocked, auction houses were stunned, and ordinary people, those who held on to their old coins, began to believe in miracles, because that's exactly what this coin represents: a miracle of chance, a freak accident of history, a single moment where human error created unimaginable value. But what makes it even more fascinating is how easy it is to miss. Most people glance at a 1971 penny and see nothing special. They see Abraham Lincoln's familiar face, the date, the tiny S under it. But if you hold it under a magnifying glass, if you tilt it just right, the doubling leaps out like a secret shouting to be found. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. The split serifs on the letters, the doubling on "In God We Trust," the clear echo on the numbers of the date, these are the signs of treasure. And without them, your coin is worth just a cent. With them? $1 million. Think about that for a moment. One person's loose change, forgotten in a drawer for decades, could become the ticket to a life-changing fortune. Stories circulate of families discovering them in jars, in inherited collections, in dusty proof sets pulled from attics. Every time, the reaction is the same: disbelief, shock, and joy, but the mystery deepens. How many are still out there? No one knows for sure. Some believe only a few dozen exist in high grades. Others whisper that more are waiting in the wild, unrecognized. And every day, millions of people handle pennies, never realizing that one of them could hold the power to change their life. 1971, then, look for the mint mark, a small S under the year. That's your starting point. Next, look closer, really closer. Use a magnifier. Examine the words liberty and "In God We Trust." On the valuable variety, the letters look doubled, like shadows stacked on top of each other. The numbers in 1971 will show the same effect. If your coin doesn't have that doubling, it's just a penny. But if it does? Congratulations! You may be holding a piece of history worth hundreds of thousands, even up to $1 million. Collectors dream of this coin. Dealers hunt for it. And those lucky enough to find it never forget the moment they realized what they had. So before you spend that old penny, before you dismiss it as worthless, remember this: the 1971 Lincoln penny with a doubled die obverse is one of the greatest treasure stories in American coinage. It proves that miracles can hide in plain sight, that wealth can be disguised as something ordinary, and that sometimes the smallest coin carries the biggest secret. And the truth is, this exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. This coin almost ended up in someone's pocket change, yet today it's worth over $1 million. Imagine tossing it into a coin jar, never knowing that a life-changing fortune was hidden in plain sight. The 1992 Lincoln penny looks ordinary at first glance. Copper-plated zinc, the same design that millions of Americans carried in their wallets during the early 90s. But hidden among those countless coins is a tiny, almost invisible difference that transformed a single penny into a $1 million miracle. Collectors were stunned when it first appeared. Dealers rushed to get their hands on it. And ordinary people began checking their drawers, jars, and piggy banks, because the 1992 Lincoln penny isn't just rare, it's one of the most valuable pennies in modern American history. But what makes this coin so extraordinary? Why would a penny minted in Denver suddenly be worth more than houses, cars, and retirement accounts combined? The answer lies in a mistake, an accident at the US Mint so subtle, so microscopic, that most people will never spot it. Yet for the lucky few who do, it means the difference between a coin worth 1 cent and a coin worth over $1 million. Back in 1992, the Mint was preparing to transition its coin designs. Small adjustments were being made to lettering, spacing, and the details of Lincoln's portrait. But in Denver, something unusual slipped through the cracks. Some pennies were struck with what collectors now call the close AM reverse. On the back of these rare coins, the letters A and M in America nearly touch, far closer than they should. Most 1992 pennies have a wide gap. But these rare 1992 close AM pennies display a tight, almost fused spacing that betrays a die intended for proof coins, not circulation. That tiny detail, 2 letters barely a hair's breadth apart, is the key to unlocking a $1 million prize. And it's a mistake so easy to miss that thousands of people have likely held one, never realizing what they had. One man did. His story shook the coin world. At first, he thought it was just a curiosity, a penny with a slight oddity in its design. But after sending it for grading and authentication, the verdict came back: genuine 1992 close AM. When that coin crossed the auction block, it didn't sell for $10,000 or $100,000. It pushed into the unimaginable. A single penny, selling for nearly $1.10 million. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. News of the sale spread like wildfire. Suddenly, everyday people began digging through their jars of change, inspecting every 1992 penny they could find. Coin dealers reported floods of hopeful collectors bringing in handfuls of coins. And for good reason, because more than one of these elusive rarities exists. Can you imagine? One penny, sitting unnoticed in a cash register, in a child's piggy bank, in the dusty back corner of an old dresser, holding the power to rewrite a person's life. And here's the twist that keeps even veteran collectors on edge: the Denver Mint produced billions of pennies in 1992. Which means the chances of more close AM pennies hiding out there are very real. But here's the catch: finding one requires razor-sharp eyes and a collector's patience. To the untrained eye, a 1992 penny looks no different than any other. The portrait of Lincoln, the memorial building on the reverse, the shiny copper finish. It's only when you turn it over and carefully study the letters of America that the truth begins to emerge. Most people miss it. But those who don't, those who notice the closeness, the subtle mistake, they hold in their hand a $1 million treasure. Collectors describe the thrill as almost indescribable. One man compared it to striking gold in the California gold rush. Another said it felt like winning the lottery, except his ticket was a single copper coin he'd carried for years. But the story doesn't stop there. Because whenever a coin like this surfaces, it changes the entire marketplace. Suddenly, demand skyrockets. Prices soar. Dealers scramble to secure examples for their most serious clients. And the legend of the coin only grows stronger. This is why the 1992 Lincoln penny has become a modern-day treasure hunt. It's not buried in the ground, it's not locked in a vault, it's hiding in plain sight, waiting for someone brave enough, patient enough, curious enough to notice the difference. But what happens when someone new discovers one? History suggests the value will only climb. $1 million coins don't stay quiet for long. Every auction sets a new benchmark. Every discovery renews the frenzy. And with so few known examples, the next one could be worth even more. And now here's what you need to know. If you want to find this life-changing penny, start with every 1992 penny you can get your hands on. Flip it over. Look closely at the word America. Focus on the A and the M. On normal pennies, there's a wide, clear gap. On the rare close AM variety, the letters are nearly touching. If your coin shows that tight spacing and it carries the tiny D mint mark below the date, you may be staring at one of the most valuable pennies in existence, but be careful. Lighting can play tricks. Your eyes can deceive you. Many hopefuls have mistaken regular coins for the close AM rarity. That's why professional grading and authentication are essential. Only then will you know if your penny is worth 1 cent or $1 million. Imagine the impact. One coin. One discovery. A piece of pocket change transforming into a once-in-a-lifetime fortune. Collectors dream of it. Dealers chase it. And history proves it does happen. So tonight, when you empty your pockets, don't just toss the change aside. Look closer. Study the details. Because the 1992 D Lincoln penny is out there, waiting to be found, and here's the most haunting truth of all. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. This coin almost ended up in a parking lot puddle, yet today, it's worth over $1 million. Think about that for a second. A coin minted in 1998, a year most people barely remember, is now one of the most shocking discoveries in the world of American coin collecting. A penny. A single cent. A coin you've probably handled hundreds of times without even noticing. But this one, this exact variation, has changed lives. Collectors were stunned when it first appeared at auction. Whispers spread quickly through the coin community. At first, many thought it had to be a joke, a hoax, a trick someone cooked up in their garage. But when professional graders confirmed it, the truth hit hard. A 1998 no-mint mark Lincoln penny, with a tiny, nearly invisible error, could command as much as $1.20 million. The answer takes us back to a time when the U.S. Mint was churning out billions of Lincoln cents. 1998 wasn't a year anyone expected magic from. It wasn't a key date, it wasn't tied to a major U.S. anniversary, and it wasn't on any collector's radar. Yet buried in the ordinary, something extraordinary slipped through. You see, in 1998, the Mint used dies that were not supposed to be paired together. Some coins were struck with a reverse design intended for a proof coin, the kind meant for collectors, never meant to circulate in pocket change. That subtle mistake created what is now known as the wide AM variety. For most people, it looks like just another penny. But to the trained eye, the letters in America tell a different story. While billions of normal 1998 pennies exist, only a handful of these hidden wide AM varieties are known. The spacing between the A and the M is slightly wider than normal. Most people would never notice. But this tiny design flaw has transformed an ordinary cent into $1 million miracle. One man's pocket change became history when he discovered his 1998 penny wasn't like the others. He almost spent it at a gas station. But something, maybe instinct, maybe luck, told him to take a second look. When experts confirmed it was one of the rarest known varieties, his life changed overnight. That same coin later stunned the coin world, crossing the auction block for a jaw-dropping figure that brushed against $1.20 million. But here's where things get even more suspenseful. For years, collectors argued, how many of these coins even exist? Some said dozens. Others believed only a few survived. Every time one shows up, dealers rush to outbid each other, desperate to get their hands on it. The frenzy is electric. Imagine standing in an auction room, the bidding climbing higher and higher, the crowd holding its breath as history is made by a coin most people would have ignored in their spare change. And yet, here's the question that haunts every collector: could there be more? Could there be one sitting quietly in a jar of pennies on a kitchen counter, waiting to be found? Could your next handful of change at the grocery store contain the $1 million penny? The thought is chilling and thrilling, but what happened next stunned the entire coin world, because collectors began to notice something else. Not only did the 1998 wide AM penny exist, but similar mistakes were spotted in 1999 and 2000. A series of minting slip-ups, scattered across years, hidden in plain sight. Each one a potential fortune. Each one proving that even in modern times, the US Mint can still make errors that create treasures worth more than gold. Dealers who once laughed at modern cents suddenly turned serious. Phone calls poured into grading services. People dug through rolls of 1998 pennies, their hearts racing, hoping for that white AM detail. The frenzy became so intense that stories surfaced of entire families spending weekends around their kitchen tables, sorting coins late into the night, and here's the most chilling part: many of those who found one didn't even know what they had. Some of these coins slipped through auctions for only a few $100s before the market caught on. Imagine selling your $1 million penny for the price of a nice dinner. The regret still lingers for those early sellers, but now you know the secret. Recognize the difference between the common and the life-changing. The key lies in the word America on the reverse. On a regular 1998 penny, the A and the M almost touch. They are close together, nearly joined. But on the rare and valuable white AM variety, the spacing is clearly wider, a gap you can see if you look closely. That's it. That tiny detail is the difference between 1 cent and $1 million. Collectors were shocked when grading services confirmed the first one. Dealers were stunned when bidding skyrocketed. And ordinary people, people just like you, began to dream that their pocket change could contain a fortune. Billions of 1998 pennies were struck. They're everywhere. But only a few hold this hidden secret. That means the odds are slim, but the reward is life-changing. Every time you reach for a penny, every time you pour out a jar of change, you might be holding more than copper and zinc. You might be holding a ticket to financial freedom, a piece of history, a coin worth up to $1.2 million. Start looking. Search your drawers. Search your jars. Look closely at every 1998 penny you find. And remember the golden rule: check America. If the A and the M are too close, it's just another cent. But if they're wide apart, you may have just discovered one of the rarest modern coins in US history. And don't forget, condition matters. A coin that's scratched, bent, or worn won't bring top dollar. But a pristine 1998 white AM, carefully preserved, could send shockwaves through the coin world. Professional grading can confirm its authenticity, and once it's slabbed and certified, the bidding wars begin. This isn't just about money. It's about the thrill of discovery. The dream of finding hidden treasure where no one else thought to look. The idea that history can rest quietly in your pocket until the right eyes recognize it. 1 penny. 1 cent. $1 million miracle. This coin almost ended up in a pocket full of spare change, but instead, it sold for over $1 million. And the shocking part? It was just a 2015 Lincoln penny with no mint mark. Imagine digging through your coin jar, expecting nothing but copper and zinc, and suddenly realizing that one single coin could change your life forever. That's exactly what happened to a handful of collectors who uncovered one of the most valuable modern pennies in US history. At first glance, the 2015 no mint mark penny looks ordinary. It's the same coin millions of Americans used to pay for coffee, parking meters, or tucked away in their car's cup holder. But hidden within some of these coins is a flaw so rare, so shocking, that collectors were left speechless when they saw the auction results. One of these pennies, seemingly worth just 1 cent, stunned the coin world when bidding soared past expectations and crossed into the realm of 7 figures. A single penny selling for nearly $1.3 million. But how can a coin made in 2015, a year so recent, hold such staggering value? The answer lies in the mysterious world of minting errors, overlooked details, and the relentless passion of coin collectors who know how to spot what others miss. The US Mint produces billions of pennies every year. But every now and then, one coin slips through with a mistake, a missing mint mark, a doubled die, or a misstrike so small, the average person would never notice. Yet for collectors, that tiny detail transforms a worthless penny into a priceless treasure. And in 2015, something extraordinary happened. A batch of Lincoln pennies left the mint without the expected mint mark, a seemingly simple omission that turned routine coins into million-dollar miracles. Collectors rushed to confirm the authenticity. Dealers scrambled, trying to get their hands on even one example. And when the first of these coins appeared at auction, the crowd held its breath. Bidding escalated faster than anyone expected, and when the hammer finally fell, history had been made. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. More examples began surfacing, tucked away in coin rolls, hiding in drawers, and even discovered in pocket change. Stories spread of everyday Americans stumbling upon these 2015 no-mint mark pennies in the most unlikely places. A man from Ohio found one while cashing in change at a supermarket. A woman in California pulled one from a jar her late father had kept for years. Each new discovery sent shockwaves through the collecting community. And each new sale reinforced the same reality: this wasn't just another penny. It was a once-in-a-lifetime treasure. Dealers began sounding the alarm: check your change. Look carefully. Don't let one of these coins slip by unnoticed. And yet, most people still had no idea. They spent them, dropped them, even tossed them aside, not realizing they were holding a fortune in their hands. The thrill of the hunt grew. Coin shops were flooded with hopeful collectors, each bringing bags of pennies, desperate to know if they had found one of the elusive million-dollar coins. But the secret to identifying the 2015 no-mint mark penny isn't just spotting the missing letter. It's knowing what to look for in the details. The clean fields, the sharp strike, the unmistakable absence of the mint mark where it should have been. And most importantly, it's knowing the difference between damage and a true minting error. Counterfeiters and altered coins have tried to mimic the look of the no-mint mark penny. But seasoned collectors know that the real treasure has a specific weight, a certain sheen, and die characteristics that no fake can perfectly replicate. That's why when one verified coin appeared at auction, experts examined it with magnifiers, scales, and microscopes before certifying it genuine. And once certified, its value skyrocketed. But here's the part that still leaves collectors wide-eyed: there could be more out there. Dozens. Maybe hundreds. Coins lying forgotten in penny rolls at banks, in piggy banks, or rattling around in a coin jar under your bed. And every time one is found, it reignites the fire, because if one penny can be worth $1.3 million, then every pocket full of change is a chance at a miracle. Collectors often say that modern coins rarely hold value, that you need something old, something from the 1800s, or a historic rarity to strike it rich. But the 2015 no-mint mark penny shattered that belief. It proved that even a coin minted less than a decade ago can become a legend. But what makes this coin so unforgettable isn't just its value, it's the human stories tied to it. One collector, a man who had been unemployed and down on his luck, discovered the coin in a roll he bought at the bank. That single penny, authenticated and sold, gave him a second chance at life. He paid off debts, secured a home, and changed his family's future. Another story tells of a young woman who inherited her grandfather's coin collection. Among the bags of common change, she spotted what looked like an ordinary 2015 penny. She almost spent it at a vending machine, until a coin dealer told her she was holding a treasure worth hundreds of thousands. Stories like these are why coin collecting is so much more than a hobby. It's a hunt for miracles. A pursuit of the impossible. And the 2015 no-mint mark penny stands as proof that life-changing treasures are still out there, waiting to be found. First, check the date, 2015. Then, look closely at the spot under the year, near the rim. If you see no mint mark, no small d for Denver, no p for Philadelphia, your heart should skip a beat. Next, check for authenticity. A genuine 2015 no mint mark penny weighs 2.5 grams, made of copper-plated zinc, and will show the same sharp design as its ordinary counterparts, except for the missing mint mark. Collectors were shocked to learn how many people overlooked this detail. Dealers warned: don't assume. Don't rush. Every penny is worth examining. And here's the part that gives chills: your next handful of change could hide this million-dollar miracle. So before you toss that penny aside, before you dump your coin jar into a counting machine, take a moment. Look closely. That single coin could be your ticket to fortune, your 1-cent miracle worth $1.3 million. This coin almost ended up in a child's piggy bank, but instead, it became the centerpiece of a million-dollar bidding war. I'm talking about the 1977 no-mint mark Lincoln penny, a coin so deceptively ordinary, most people pass it off without a second thought, but hidden within its copper surface lies a secret that has stunned collectors, broken auction records, and turned pocket change into a fortune. Imagine this. You're at the grocery store, you get some change back, and buried in those dull, brown pennies is one that looks just like the rest. But in reality, that one coin could rewrite your entire financial future, because a few of these 1977 pennies, without the famous mint mark, have sold for staggering amounts. Some estimates suggest that pristine examples could soar to $1.4 million under the right conditions. Collectors are hunting for them with feverish obsession. Dealers are scouring rolls, bags, and forgotten jars. And one man's loose change turned into a life-changing miracle when he uncovered one hiding at the bottom of his desk drawer. The answer lies in a perfect storm of history, rarity, and minting mysteries. 1977 was supposed to be an ordinary year for the Lincoln penny. Struck in copper, bearing the iconic profile of Abraham Lincoln, and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. Nothing unusual on the surface, but in the Philadelphia Mint, something different happened. Coins produced there often lacked a mint mark, the tiny D for Denver or S for San Francisco. And while no mint mark coins weren't entirely uncommon in Philadelphia, certain conditions in 1977 created an unusually scarce run of high-quality, no mint mark pieces. Collectors were shocked when they began to realize that these seemingly common coins were actually vanishingly rare in pristine condition, and when the first examples began hitting the auction block, prices skyrocketed. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. A 1977 no mint mark penny, barely a cent in value to the untrained eye, crossed the auction floor and sold for thousands. Soon after, another example, untouched and gleaming in near-perfect condition, shattered expectations by climbing into six figures. The news spread like wildfire. Newspapers ran headlines. Coin clubs buzzed with speculation. And the quiet little penny of 1977 became a superstar. One collector described it as the ultimate wolf in sheep's clothing, a treasure hiding in plain sight, just waiting to be plucked from everyday change. And here's where it gets even more fascinating. The 1977 penny was one of the last true copper cents. Just a few years later, in 1982, the U.S. Mint switched to copper-plated zinc, forever changing the composition of America's smallest coin. This makes the 1977 penny part of the final era of heavy copper, a detail that collectors crave. Add in the no mint mark mystery, and you have a recipe for explosive value. But this tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. Condition is everything. Most pennies get battered, scratched, and worn down by circulation. But if you find a 1977 no mint mark penny in pristine, uncirculated condition, the kind of coin that looks like it was struck yesterday, you may be holding $1 million miracle in your hand. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on these high-grade survivors. Grading services like PCGS and NGC have seen only a handful of flawless specimens, and those are the ones that climb into the stratosphere at auction. A coin graded MS67 or higher can ignite a bidding war that stuns even veteran collectors. But the story doesn't stop there. One man in Illinois almost threw his change jar away until he noticed one penny shining just a little brighter than the rest. It turned out to be a 1977 no mint mark in near perfect condition. That coin sold for enough to pay off his mortgage, buy a brand new car, and still leave money in the bank. Imagine that. 1 cent. One miracle. One stroke of fate, and yet, the danger is real. Because thousands of people have overlooked these coins, not realizing they were holding the key to a fortune. Some have been tossed in vending machines. Others lost forever in dusty basements. And still more traded away for face value pennies, when they were worth thousands. Collectors whisper about the ones that got away. The stories of people unknowingly spending $1 million penny at the gas station, it sends shivers down your spine just thinking about it. But the hunt is not over. In fact, it's only just beginning. Across America, in coin jars, bankrolls, and pocket change, there are still 1977 no mint mark pennies waiting to be found. Each one a hidden time capsule, a copper miracle worth far more than its face value. 1977. Second, look beneath the date on the front of the coin. Do you see a small D or S mint mark? If not, you could be staring at the no mint mark variety. Next, inspect the condition. Is it sharp? Crisp? Free of scratches and wear? The higher the grade, the higher the value. And finally, if you believe you found one, send it to a professional grading service. A small fee could confirm whether you're holding a life-changing coin, but don't be fooled. Counterfeits exist. And not every no mint mark penny is worth a fortune. It takes the perfect storm of rarity, condition, and collector demand to push it into the realm of million-dollar sales. Still, the possibility is very, very real. Think about it. Right now, in your drawer, your jar, your pocket, there could be a penny worth over $1 million. Not tomorrow. Not someday. Today, and that's the magic of the 1977 no mint mark Lincoln penny. A simple coin, born in copper, overlooked by millions, but destined to change the lives of the few lucky enough to recognize its power. This coin almost slipped through history unnoticed, a tiny copper penny that looked so ordinary, so common, that millions of people spent it without thinking twice. but when collectors finally uncovered its hidden secret, jaws dropped, because this unassuming 1956 no-mint Mark Wheat Lincoln penny has been valued at up to $1.5 million. Imagine that. A coin you could have pulled from change at a corner store in the 1950s. A coin that most people tossed in jars, drawers, or vending machines, and yet today, that very same penny could be worth more than a house, more than a lifetime of wages, more than $1 million in your hands. Why would a simple copper coin from 1956 shock the entire coin collecting world? The truth lies in its mysterious story, a story of hidden minting errors, overlooked details, and one breathtaking discovery that turned pocket change into a fortune. Back in 1956, the U.S. Mint in Philadelphia was producing billions of Lincoln wheat pennies. These were the last years of the wheat reverse, the iconic design with two wheat stalks framing the words 1 cent. By 1959, the design would be replaced forever by the Lincoln Memorial reverse. So already, the 1956 penny carries historical weight. It represents the twilight of one era and the dawn of another, but that's not what gives it its $1 million value. The real reason is a mistake. A tiny error, something so small that the average person's eye would never catch it. Collectors discovered that some 1956 wheat pennies struck at the Philadelphia Mint had extraordinary doubling on the obverse. Abraham Lincoln's profile, the words "In God We Trust," "Liberty," and the date all appear with dramatic doubling. This doubling wasn't intentional. It was caused by a misalignment during the die creation process, a doubled die error, and it turned an ordinary cent into a once-in-a-lifetime treasure. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. For decades, these coins passed unnoticed. People spent them, banks rolled them, kids tossed them into piggy banks, until one sharp-eyed collector stumbled on the doubled features, and the coin's value skyrocketed. Dealers were shocked. Auction houses began receiving whispers. There's a 1956 doubled die wheat penny. It's real. Soon, bidding wars erupted. Collectors were willing to pay not hundreds, not thousands, but tens of thousands, and in pristine, uncirculated condition, with its copper shine blazing as if it had just left the mint. One of these coins has been valued at up to $1.5 million. Think about that. A penny that cost 1 cent to make, now trading hands for the price of luxury cars, beachfront homes, or retirement dreams. But here's the chilling part: most people have no idea this coin even exists. Even today, millions of Americans might have one sitting unnoticed in old jars, forgotten boxes, or inherited collections, and that means the next great discovery could be made by someone just like you. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. The answer lies in the details. Take a close look at the date, 1956. On the rare doubled die pennies, the 1, the 9, the 5, and especially the 6 show dramatic doubling. It almost looks like the numbers have a shadow behind them. The word Liberty on the left of Lincoln's profile is another key giveaway. Strong doubling leaps out when viewed under magnification, and "In God We Trust," stretched across the top, can appear thick, almost as though stamped twice. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. Now, here's the twist that keeps collectors awake at night: not all 1956 pennies are doubled. In fact, most are worth just a cent or two. Some, in pristine uncirculated condition, may fetch a few dollars, but the doubled die is the golden ticket, the once-in-a-generation rarity that transforms a penny into a life-changing fortune. At first, don't rely on the naked eye alone. Many collectors miss these details for decades because the doubling can be subtle without magnification. A simple jeweler's loupe or magnifying glass can reveal the dramatic doubling. Second, check the condition. Collectors crave brilliance, the red, coppery shine of a penny that's barely touched circulation. A high-grade 1956 doubled die, certified and slabbed by a grading service, can leap from thousands to hundreds of thousands, and in perfect condition, over $1 million. But wait, there's more. Even ordinary 1956 wheat pennies can carry secrets. Some were struck on slightly off metal planchets, or show repunched mint marks from the Denver Mint, and while these errors won't fetch $1 million, they can still command hundreds, sometimes thousands. Every coin in your hand could hold a hidden story. Collectors are rushing to get their hands on these coins, because history tells us that once the big discoveries are made and the coins are graded, the chance to find one in the wild dwindles fast. That means your odds are shrinking every day, and yet, somewhere, right now, one of these coins is waiting to be found. It could be in a roll of pennies from your local bank. It could be in a box of coins handed down by a grandparent. It could even be sitting, right now, in your kitchen drawer. But here's the most powerful truth of all: every legendary coin starts out looking ordinary. The 1956 wheat penny that shocked the world didn't glow, didn't sparkle, didn't scream $1 million. It looked like every other penny, until someone took the time to look closer. That's the secret. That's the difference between 1 cent and $1 million. So, the next time you hold a 1956 no-mint Mark Wheat Lincoln penny, Don't dismiss it, examine it carefully, search for that doubling on the date, the lettering, and the motto. Because the only thing separating you from a fortune could be a single overlooked detail, and remember this final thought: this exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. Yes, a single 1996 D Lincoln penny, a coin so ordinary looking that most people would spend it without a second thought, has stunned collectors with a hidden story no one saw coming. Imagine holding a single copper-colored coin in your hand, a penny you might drop in a tip jar or toss on your dresser. Now imagine that same coin changing your entire life, overnight. That's exactly what happened when collectors uncovered a shocking mystery behind the 1996 D Lincoln penny. But here's the part that few people know: this coin wasn't supposed to exist the way it does. In 1996, the Denver Mint produced billions of Lincoln pennies. Ordinary coins, struck by the millions every single day, rolling off the presses in an endless sea of copper-plated zinc. But buried in that ocean of coins were mistakes, errors so rare, so unexpected, that they transformed a 1-cent piece into a life-changing fortune. Collectors were shocked when the first one was discovered. A man in Colorado emptied his pocket change after buying a cup of coffee. Among the handful of dull pennies, something caught his eye. A small irregularity, barely noticeable unless you knew exactly what to look for. He tossed it aside at first, but weeks later, after a visit to a local coin shop, that penny was declared one of the rarest modern errors ever struck at the Denver Mint. It eventually sold for a price that no one could have predicted, over $1 million. But how could something so small, so seemingly insignificant, be worth more than a house, more than most people's lifetime savings? The answer lies in a minting anomaly that stunned even the experts. The 1996 D penny is supposed to be a standard memorial Lincoln cent. But in rare cases, the dies used to strike the coin were misaligned, doubled, or improperly prepared. Some coins even showed ghost-like impressions of design elements that weren't meant to be there. And whispers in the collecting world tell of a mysterious group of 1996 D pennies that bear traces of the wheatback design, the reverse used from 1909 to 1958, somehow clashing with the modern memorial design. Experts believe that during the die production process, leftover hubs or experimental strikes may have been mistakenly used. This is not just rare, it borders on impossible. Yet a handful of examples have surfaced, and each one has rewritten what collectors thought they knew about modern pennies. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. Word spread quickly. Dealers began scrambling to check their inventory. Collectors searched their change jars. Suddenly, the 1996 D penny wasn't just a coin, it was a golden ticket. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. Another coin surfaced at auction, this time with even clearer signs of the anomaly. The bidding war was electric. The price soared higher and higher, collectors refusing to let this treasure slip away. The hammer finally dropped, and once again, a single penny had changed hands for nearly $1.5 million. And here's where it gets even more unbelievable: most people think you need to be a professional collector to spot something like this. But the truth is, these coins hide in plain sight. They don't glitter, they don't shine, they don't scream, "I'm worth a fortune." They look ordinary. And that's exactly why so many people miss them, but not you, because in the next few minutes, you're going to learn the exact details that separate an ordinary penny from one worth over $1 million. The first thing to look for: the mint mark. The 1996 D penny must have the D4 Denver under the date. Without it, you don't have the coin that sent shockwaves through the community. Doubling. Examine the date, the word liberty, and "in God we trust." Under magnification, doubling may appear like a shadow, as if the numbers and letters are layered on top of themselves. This doubling is one of the hallmarks of the $1 million examples, but that's not all. Turn the coin over. Most 1996 D pennies show the memorial building, as expected. But the valuable ones contain traces of a wheatback impression, faint outlines of wheat stalks curving along the rim, ghost-like shadows of a design that shouldn't exist in 1996. This error is breathtakingly rare, but when found, it transforms a penny into a miracle. And here's the detail most people miss: on some examples, the alignment is slightly off, giving Lincoln's portrait a distorted appearance. The eyes may look doubled, the mouth faintly stretched. These tiny details are exactly what dealers look for, and exactly what make collectors fight to pay astronomical prices. Countless people have spent these coins without knowing. A cashier's drawer, a vending machine, a jar of change under someone's bed, and in that moment, $1 million treasure slips back into circulation, waiting for the next lucky hands to discover it. Collectors describe the feeling as electric, like a rush of adrenaline when you realize the coin you're holding isn't just worth a cent, it's worth $1 million. Think about it. In a world where fortunes are built on risky investments, one single penny could give you a life-changing payday. A coin you've overlooked for decades, sitting quietly in a coffee can or a drawer, could be your greatest discovery. But here's the warning you need to hear: scammers know the legends. They polish ordinary pennies, fake doubling with machines, and try to sell counterfeits online. Don't fall for it. True $1 million 1996 D pennies have been verified by grading services like PCGS and NGC. They carry authentication, certification, and a trail of auction records proving their value. Start by examining every 1996 D penny you come across. Use a magnifying glass. Study the details. If anything looks unusual, don't dismiss it. Take it to a trusted coin dealer or submit it for grading, because every great discovery begins the same way, with someone who paid attention when others did not. And now, the most important lesson of all: your best chance lies in looking where no one else does. Jars of pennies, old dresser drawers, forgotten piggy banks. That's where the $1 million discoveries are hiding. Not in a museum. Not in a dealer's showcase. But in the loose change you already own. Imagine the moment. You pull out a coin, turn it in the light, and see that faint doubling, that shadow of a wheatback, and your heart races. Because you know what it means. You're holding a piece of history. A miracle in copper. A coin worth over $1 million. So don't overlook the ordinary. The 1996 D Lincoln penny is living proof that even the smallest things can hold unimaginable power. And the next one to surface could be in your hands.